There are people that are quicker than Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, but because they didn't have the right backing, they weren't able to get into F1. So to prevent this happening in the future, we're going to discuss how anyone can get into F1, how to fund a racing career, and what to do with that money once you've got it. Now, as we know, you have to get through the ranks to prove your worth, but what feeder series should you get into? You need to compete in the European Focus Championships. The competition level is higher there, it's just the way it is. So here are the championships that you should consider on each rung of the motorsport ladder. So starting off with karting, you're obviously going to want to start when you're young. So the Honda Cadet Championship, which is a British national championship from the Super 1 series, is an incredible place to start. And once you're old enough, you can then go into the junior karting category with championships like the X30 Miami and Junior Rotax Max championships being a very good place to learn the ropes. Then again, once you're a little bit older and you've got some more experience, you're going to want to go into an FIA championship. So the OK World Championship is going to be one of the best places to go. Moving on to the next step of your F1 journey, you're going to want to go into F4, with the British or Italian series being the ideal championships to get into. For example, Oliver Bearman, he won the Italian F4 championship in 2021, and he just raced a Ferrari F1 car before Lewis Hamilton did. A series like this is going to cost you around £350,000 per season. So moving up to the Formula 3 level of racing, there are two championships that you can consider. You've got FRECA and the FIA Formula 3 Championship. Now again, these are going to cost you quite a lot. So for FRECA, it's going to cost you around £500,000 per season. And for the Formula 3 season, it's going to cost you somewhere between £600,000 and £1 million per season. Then if you've won all of those championships or been very close to winning, the next step is obviously Formula 2, and it has to be the FIA World Championship that you get into. It's the stiffest competition and the most expensive, yes, but you get exposure to the F1 paddock. This has to be your target. You've got to get in one way or another, whether that's through an F1 driver program or just simply throwing money at it. Now, this is going to cost you around £3 million per season, but at this level, you can get quite a lot of that funded from sponsors, so it won't be as bad as you think. Okay, so that's the roadmap to F1, but the main barrier to entry is, of course, the funding. So with that in mind, how do you go about getting sponsors? How do you make the right deals, and how do you know how much to ask for? Well, the first way is obviously to beg your rich parents, but if that doesn't work, this is how you can structure a deal to get a sponsor. Now, there are three metrics that you're going to need to gather and some information that you're going to need to collect in order to structure the deal and show to the company how worthwhile it is to sponsor you. So the first metric is total impressions. And this is basically you just showing them the audience size for the sport that you're looking to get into. So for example, F1 in 2021 had a cumulative audience of 1.55 billion people. The second thing is conversion rate, and that's going to give the company an idea of how many people are actually going to purchase their product from that audience that actually watches the sport. Now, you can get that conversion rate, which is a percentage figure, just by asking around the paddock that you're looking to get into, people that have maybe had experience. Maybe you can speak to sponsors that are already sponsoring drivers in the category that you're looking to get into. Then finally, you're going to need to do a bit of research on the company themselves. So what I would do in this situation is I would take their cheapest product and the most expensive product and then multiply that price by the number of sales purchases that they would get on average. So I appreciate that was quite in depth, but to help you get your head around it, let's go through an example so you can see step by step. Now, let's say that you're looking for a computer company to sponsor you and their cheapest laptop is £100 and their most expensive is £1,000. You know that the total audience size for the sport that you're looking to get into is around 1 million impressions. Now next, you're going to need conversion rate. We've found that it's about 5%. So that will give us a generated sales figure of 50,000 guaranteed purchases on average. So that's going to mean that the company that we're looking to get a sponsor from will make between 5 million and 50 million pounds in income. If we assume profit margins of just 10%, well, we could maybe ask for half of that, which would be 5% of that revenue figure. So we could end up with a sponsorship of potentially between 250,000 and 2.5 million pounds. And that's just from one company. So that's how you should go about presenting the data of the benefits to a company of sponsoring you when you're looking to get into a certain motorsport. Now, the next thing you need to do is sell yourself. Show them data of wins, show them what makes you different, you know, what sets you apart from everyone else, what are your future plans to get into F1. And this is where being really good will set you apart from most other drivers. Okay, so now we've got some money, great, but what do we do with it? Well, unfortunately, gone are the days of dads and sons racing at karting tracks for a hobby and then accidentally becoming F1 drivers. Karting is now all about teams, with entry-level championships costing over 6 figures a year. And going all the way up to F2, that can look to cost around $3 million per season. Now you could quickly rack up a bill of around £10 million just to get to F2, and ideally when you were in F3 you would have got backing from an F1 driver program. It would likely enable you to get into teams such as Prema, who are very closely linked to Ferrari, ART if you're backed by Mercedes, or even Carlin if you're backed by McLaren or Red Bull. There is still an element of the highest bidder to this all though, so there is some flexibility, but the top teams in F2 are widely accepted to be Prema and ART. So really then, the best way to spend the money is to spend on the best team that you can get into, charming sponsors and trying to get more sponsors if you can, and really just making friends with the significant people in the paddock. And remember that the way to do this is to provide them value. You know, it's not just to be a nice person, because really that's quite easy. Who do you know that could help someone else who can then help you to move up in the world of motorsport? Now I want to end on a reality check with you guys. You know, there are thousands of people that want to get into F1. Only 20 drivers can at the moment, but that's the point. The chances of success are tiny. Over 99% of people won't make it. Let's have a look at what got Lewis Hamilton into F1. He had the right balance of innate speed, technical ability, but he also had the right connections and really the delusion that he could get to the top. But not only that, he was there at the right place at the right time, and that's something that's largely out of your control. I mean, if we look at Felipe Drugovich, he won the F2 season in a spectacular way, yet he's now been on the sidelines for a couple years and hasn't been able to get into an F1 seat. So really, you have to work even harder off track to make sure that you're in the right place at the right time. Now, speaking of delusion, Ferrari have been making a lot of changes to their team lately, and not just hiring fast racing drivers. And I actually think that they have a good chance of winning in 2026. But why? Well, if you want to find out, you can watch this video here.